Hello there. Welcome to another episode of Fresh. My name is Nia Malika Dixon. I'm an independent writer, director, and producer here in Los Angeles. I'm originally from Baltimore, and I am a Black Muslim woman. And I founded Audace Entertainment to provide a way for creators just like me to authentically create stories that are reflective of our unique perspective and experiences. And today for Fresh, we're talking about a series. We're talking about a series that kind of does the opposite of that. Today we're talking about The White Lotus on HBO Max. And what we do at Fresh is every week we discuss different television series that are streaming on several various different platforms. And we discuss why they're great, what's so compelling about them, what's interesting about them from a unique perspective of being an audience member as well as being a creative. And as someone who loves stories, that's me, I do love creating a series. I am a creator of a series called East of La Brea, and it's about a Black Muslim woman and her roommate in Koreatown, Los Angeles. But even though I love creating television and film, I'm also someone who loves to watch television and film. And so whenever I discuss the series on these different episodes, it's from that perspective, from someone who's a creator as well as someone who loves storytelling. And I was discussing with my son, who is also a storyteller, but he writes animation, the difference between what I'm doing with Fresh versus what a television critic does. And so I'm not here to critique the TV show. I'm not here to tell you why you should watch it. I'm here to just... Unfortunately, I'm on it. I'm here to just talk about what's good about it, what's lacking, me as a creator and as an audience member, what I observe. And I know there are several people out there who are just as passionate about storytelling as I am. And so that's why, hey, welcome. And that's why I created this series. So today we're going to be talking about The White Lotus. And first of all, I want to say that unironically, the creator of the series is named Mike White. And he's a writer for several different other projects. One of them of which I'm a fan, which is School of Rock, if you've seen that film. And I've also read, that he's created several other things. However, that's the only project of his that I'm very much familiar with or I would be excited to talk about. But The White Lotus was very compelling. I'll say that. And it got Twitter talking, which is pretty interesting. So if you're a fan of controversial storytelling and you like mess, you're going to love The White Lotus because it is literally white mess. What I like to call train wreck storytelling, because you can't look away. And you as an audience member are wondering what else is going to happen. Like, can they take it up a notch? Can it get any more worse than it already has been? And sure enough, it did. The cool thing about the series was that it aired weekly, which was pretty cool. I'm not a big fan of binge watching, even though some series, lend themselves to binge watching. I'm a fan of waiting in anticipation. And each week, I will admit, I was waiting in anticipation for the next episode because I was wondering, can it get any worse? Literally, it did. And the finale kind of reached its zenith of white mess. But let me stop before I get ahead of myself. First of all, I want to talk about what I thought was really cool about the series, and that was the music. And I did tweet about how I think the music supervisor, whomever is in charge of creating the soundtrack and putting the music where it belonged, they did a really great job. And one of the biggest things that I love about music in storytelling is when it cues you as the audience as to what you should be feeling, or gives you a sort of foreshadowing so that you can kind of anticipate what's going to happen next. And it really did that. The music for this series really did that. Although there were some placements of music where I was like, well, I don't get that. Like, why is that even there? Nothing is perfect, guys. Just know that. And so the music really did a great job. And one of the things that I really liked was the use of the chorus. And so, like I said, often music carries storytelling and cues the audience as to what they should be feeling, or like emotionally what's going on. And it kind of helped with trying to understand, is this scene serious or is it meant to be satirical? Like, because there were so many places where honestly, as a storyteller, I was like, is this trying to be earnest, or is this trying to poke fun? And that's one of the things that I felt were it was kind of problematic with the series, was that occasionally I couldn't tell, like the tone shifted between earnestness and satire. And honestly, I think that has a lot to do with the writer of the series being rooted in a different kind of experience than what me as the audience member wanted from the story. Again, I'm getting ahead of myself. So the score was really good. There were plenty of places where it felt ominous, and it was great because there were moments where you were on edge and you were like, well, what's going to happen next? And again, shout out to the use of the chorus, because there were moments, especially there were visual moments. Like there was a scene where the young man, the brother in the episode, was watching a humpback whale, and it was a beautiful moment, and the use of music in that moment was perfect. There were many episodes where the landscape was gorgeous and the music partnered with it very well, and it left you moments that were very much breathtaking, like moments from the perspective of in the ocean. And there were some long shots that were pretty glorious, including the sunrise, and just it was a beautiful location. So they really got it right with that. But the story itself is definitely rooted in toxic whiteness. And I'm not even hesitant to say that, because I think that's what the creator was going for. And it's literally reflective of a singular perspective. And you get that by the way that some of the characters are painted. But it didn't have to be that way. Like, I honestly felt like it would have benefited from having some different writers to contribute to the story, because there were so many places where some of the characters were not reflected in the writing. They were left very much two-dimensional. They were left just not fully developed in a way that felt fulfilling. And that's what happens when you have just one person writing the scripts. And I'm just going to leave it at that. And even though their voices were a little lacking, there was some effort. So I can say that. I want to be diplomatic about it. But again, like I said, it was pretty unpredictable. And honestly, I'm not even sure if the writer was, if he was unaware of how unironic some of those scenes were. And the consistency in the storytelling was its inconsistency, if that makes sense. And when you're watching something, I don't know, I'm speaking for myself. When I'm watching a story, I'm looking for resolution. I'm looking for full character development, and as a creator, that's what I want in my stories as well. That's what you want. If you're a creator of a series, you want your audience to feel like they can connect with these characters, and the characters are not connectable if they're not fully fleshed out. So that kind of left me a little wanting. And also there was a lot of the story's perspectives were left empty when it came to the Hawaiian characters. And I wanted to see mainly the opening character. She just disappeared. Like, she was the one character on the staff who was a native Hawaiian. And honestly, she and the other staff member who got key features were violently erased from the story. Like, they just disappeared. And I just felt like, well, they deserved much better, honestly. But like I said, for the most part, these were interesting characters. Even if they were two-dimensional, they lended themselves to the theme of the series, which is white mess. So like I said, if you like white mess, you came to the right place. But that being said, as a creator, you don't want all of your characters to fit into a stereotype. You definitely want to give them depth. You want them to have nuance, and you want audience members to be able to connect with various different characters, especially if it's an ensemble show. And that's what I was looking for with this series. Because it was an ensemble show and you have all these different personalities, you should have a reflective in the story various ways that the story plays out through these different perspectives. And that creates a richness as an audience member that will definitely keep you coming back, instead of just like what I like to call train wreck storytelling, where you just can't look away from the mess. And then on top of that, there were some serious issues that the story definitely tried to broach through these different characters. I'm thinking about Paula. She was the guest of the family, and she was definitely what we as the audience would have liked to have as the voice of reason. But ultimately, her character did not evolve beyond being a stereotype. Like, she definitely wanted to be a little bit more. She brought up the issue of colonization. She expressed her frustration and, in one scene, her disgust with the way that colonization just, made itself obvious to them. However, the family just chose not to acknowledge it, so much so that she left the dinner table. However, her character didn't go beyond that. I mean, she literally was vomiting in the ocean. However, it didn't go past those, what I like to call spectacle moments, because, as a character, she didn't evolve. She didn't give us more. She wasn't that voice of reason. She didn't exact any change. Like, ultimately, all of the characters ended up being the same as they started. And to me, I mean, that leaves you as an audience member. It leaves me as an audience member unfulfilled. When it comes to storytelling, I'm totally a believer that we as human beings tell stories as a way to create meaning, and as a way to have a catharsis for things. And this story definitely lacked catharsis. There was no real resolution at the end. And isn't that what we're along for the ride for? Like, we're left unsatisfied at the finale of The White Lotus, and perhaps feeling a little cheated, because the story could have been a lot more than what it was, right? So, like, the issues were skirted around. The characters skated up to moments where they could have had an epiphany or a reflective moment, where we as the audience could have had a resolution, or some sort of even if a little bit of justice could have been dealt out for these quote-unquote colonizers visiting the island in Hawaii. But none of that was ever approached. And there were several storylines where there were plenty of opportunities to do that. From the spa, character, Belinda, who is my favorite, even though I think she deserved a little bit more. Even she was held back from reaching her full potential as having a resolution, even though there was a scene where I thought she would get to that point where, she would have that catharsis, but the scene fell flat where, she was sitting facing the other character, this woman who ultimately became a trophy wife, and she was on her honeymoon and somehow found this moment where she wanted to back out. And even she didn't back out. Like, even she didn't reach her full potential where she could have actualized to a moment of evolution, but they just fell flat. Like, they just go right up to the edge, and then they're left there the same as when we started. And so that, for me, is why the White Lotus kind of left me deflated as an audience member. But as a creator of stories, as a creator of a television series, you can definitely learn a lot from this series, because the number one lesson that I, as a creator, kind of took away from this is to give my characters a journey that they deserve. Each of these characters went on this ride of their life. Even Armand, the hotel manager, deserved more. Like, they went on this ride, but at the end of the story, they're left with no catharsis, no real resolution, and even some of the characters were unceremoniously erased. And so, like, to me, that was the biggest takeaway. Like, give your characters more. They deserve a journey. They deserve that self-actualization that we as people long for, which is why we tell stories. And so as an audience member, you get to self-actualize with these characters. That's the whole point. I'm a believer that that's the whole point of storytelling. But like I said, if you like drama, if you like mess, this is the story for you, because there's plenty of that. There's plenty of drama. There's plenty of mess. And you are definitely not going to be disappointed. And you will be entertained. So there were plenty of moments of entertainment. And the actors are amazing. Like I said, Belinda was one of my favorite characters. And, the way that she's depicted is just so beautifully done. Like, the very powerful moments where her exhaustion is just oozing out of her. And I totally felt that. Like, I totally resonated with that character, because I've been there in those moments where, as a Black woman, I'm totally exhausted by the people in my life who just take and take and take, and definitely don't see me beyond the two-dimensional character that they've painted. Ironically enough, that's who she was in this story. And Natasha Rothwell does a beautiful job of portraying her. So I do want to say that was beautifully done. But yeah, so I'm going to close out because I'm at the point where I've really reflected on all 6 of the episodes. And they're very well shot. They're beautifully shot. The music is gorgeous. The acting is perfect, even down to Dylan, the character who Armand kind of takes advantage of. But ultimately, I'm left wanting more from this story. And honestly, I hope, because it's been renewed for a second season, I hope that they do take it to the next level. I hope the characters do get the arc. I hope that the story does get to evolve to a point where it goes beyond skirting up to that issue and then backing down. Whatever the issue is, wherever they take it, that's what I hope for the next season. But like I said, if you like White Mess, you're going to enjoy this. So definitely check it out. If not just for the acting and the music and those moments, those dramatic moments, and those funny moments, actually, because Jennifer Coolidge is pretty funny. You'll enjoy it. And tell me what you think. I definitely want to hear what you all think. Like I said, I'm talking about this from the perspective of someone who's a creator of television storytelling, but also as someone who loves television storytelling as an audience member. So I'm very curious to find out what you as the audience and you as the creator have to say about The White Lotus. So please do DM us. Next week is going to be our last episode talking about television series. And we're going to switch to talking about film, which I'm super excited about. And I've decided to close out the TV series with a pretty awesome television series that I started watching just yesterday, and oh my god, it's really great. I'm going to have fun talking about it, and I'll give you a hint. It's on FX. But that's all I'm going to say. Tune in next week. Follow us here at Audace Entertainment, and I can't wait. I will see you next time. Bye.